Breaking update, Supreme Court has issued notice to Centre and the DGCA. This is in connection to the plea filed by father of a late Captain Sumeet Sabharwal. Remember, he had filed a petition seeking a judicially monitored probe into the incident, also seeking closure of ongoing investigation. Now the Supreme Court stating pilot cannot be blamed for the crash. In fact, the plea had also alleged that the report prepared by AIIB is biased and incomplete. The Supreme Court now has issued notice. This is in connection to the plea that has been filed by late pilot's father. Father had stated that a problem with Boeing aircraft rolled over and no one believes it is the pilot's fault is something that the Supreme Court has stated. Justice Kant, they're saying no one in India believes it was the pilot's fault. There is no insinuation against the pilot. One pilot asked whether the fuel was cut off by the other. The other said no. So those are the details picking up developments from the Supreme Court. All right, let's go straight across to Nupur. Nupur, some very important observations there being made by the Apex Court, by the judges there, and also issuing notice to Centre DGCA. This is after the plea was filed by late pilot's father, saying that the probe has been biased and incomplete and pilot cannot be blamed for the crash, and something that has been agreed by the Apex Court as well. Take us through what exactly happened inside the court.
Well, Radhika, today was the first hearing when the Supreme Court heard the late pilot's father, Pushkaraj Singh's petition seeking an independent investigation. He has raised several questions on the investigations that was completed by AIIB previously, which had in fact made these observations about the pilot's role in this crash. And there was, remember, there was a backlash then also. Previously, the top court had also issued a notice in a similar petition by a pilot's body. There also the top court had expressed a dim view of these two lines that were mentioned about the pilot's role in the crash, the probable role that the investigation initial preliminary report hinted at. Now the Supreme Court, while issuing notice to Centre, DGCA and the investigation body itself, has also made this observation on the father's plea that this incident in India, no one will believe that it was the pilot's fault, and in fact it has gone on to say that those two lines really do not mean anything in the preliminary report. However, the lawyer appearing for the father urged the top court to take up this case, order an independent probe, making various claims about the state of Boeing and how it is facing crashes and problems across the world. The top court, however, said that for that to happen, the father will have to challenge certain legal acts and provisions that are currently existing. The father said he is a 90-year-old and he is all ready to go out all and battle this case in the top court. He was not willing to back out at any cost, and he has made sure that he puts across his point in the top court that he needs an independent investigation. He has raised questions on the investigation, which he said that it has already taken 4 months for them to file a preliminary report, and then they make these claims about the pilots. The Supreme Court Judge Justice Suryakant, however, not once but thrice said that no one in India will believe that this was pilot's fault, and he also slammed the reports by Wall Street Journal and other Western media where they had tried to put the blame on the pilot for that crash, and the Supreme Court called it nasty reporting by the international organizations to defame these pilots.
All right, thank you, Nupur. We'll track the story with you. We also have Vishnu Shom with us. Vishnu, Justice Kant there reiterating that no one in India believes it was the pilot's fault, criticized nasty reporting on the incident as well. However, the pilot's father alleging that Boeing aircraft have had problems globally and citing a Wall Street Journal article as well. If you could contextualize the petition that has been filed by a late pilot's father and also what the court said today.
I think we need to be very careful about how we report this story, because what you are mentioning is an observation by the learned judge of the Supreme Court, where he's told the extremely old father of one of the pilots on board that no one in India can blame him for anything. That essentially all that the preliminary probe into the crash report has said is that the fuel switches were moved from run to cut off, and that does not necessarily imply the responsibility of one particular pilot. This comes at a time several months after multiple reports have emerged, particularly in the Western media, which suggested that there may have been deliberate intent on the part of one of the pilots in moving the fuel switches on AI-171 from run to cut off, which resulted in the starvation of fuel to the engines of the aircraft, which in turn resulted in the crash in which 260 people were killed. What is important, however, is that it has now been 4 months and 26 days since that crash took place. There has been one preliminary report of the Accident Investigation Board of India, which actually came out with some detail, but it was quite inconclusive. I think there is a natural process of justice which needs to account for what actually took place. There should at least be more press conferences in the name of transparency, which the AAIB, the Accident Investigation Board, actually conducts, because at this juncture, we do not know one way or the other what took place. Was it an electrical fault as a result of water flooding into a component into a part of the aircraft, which in turn resulted in the engines, because of computer systems, stopping the flow of fuel into the engines? Was there deliberate intent by the pilots? What exactly happened in the cockpit of the aircraft? Only a small part of the cockpit, of the transcript of the communications between the pilots on board has been released. People do not know. And this affects, as we've repeatedly been reporting, not just India, but the safety of aviation around the world. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner is one of the most used types across the world. It's been ordered en masse by airlines such as Air India. Therefore, it is essential that we get to the bottom of it. What has happened today is that the government, primarily the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, will need to respond to the plea which has come from the pilot, from the father of one of the pilots, and then we'll see what finally takes place. But we need information on what exactly took place. 4 months, 26 days later, that is not available.